For privacy reasons, names and places have been changed. This story is inspired by true events.
On one crisp autumn morning in 2003, 34-year-old Caleb Whitfield, a devoted father and mechanic, along with his wife and their young child, embarked from their home for a scenic fall foliage drive on the Blue Ridge Parkway. They never returned. Despite an extensive, desperate search by park rangers and state troopers, the Whitfield family's minivan was found locked and abandoned at a remote Lynn Cove viaduct overlook, but they had vanished without a trace. For 17 agonizing years, their loved ones lived with unyielding uncertainty, clinging to fading hope. Then, in 2020, a discovery was made near the very spot they were last seen, a small, sun-bleached crib rattle, wedged behind a stone guard wall. This is the complete investigation into what happened to the Whitfield family. Before we continue, let us know where you're watching from, and if you enjoy this content, consider liking and subscribing to our channel. Now let's continue. The Blue Ridge Parkway, a ribbon of asphalt weaving through the ancient Appalachian Mountains, has long captivated travelers with its breathtaking vistas and tranquil beauty. Each autumn, the landscape ignites in a spectacular blaze of crimson and gold, drawing millions to witness nature's grand display. It is a place synonymous with scenic drives, family adventures, and the quiet majesty of the American wilderness. Yet, in the fall of 2003, this idyllic setting would become the backdrop for a profound and unsettling mystery that would echo through decades. Caleb Whitfield, a 34-year-old mechanic and devoted father, embarked on what was intended to be a memorable fall foliage road trip with his family. The specifics of their journey, the exact route taken, and the precise moment of their disappearance remain shrouded in uncertainty. What is known is that their minivan, a reliable vehicle suited for family travel, was sighted on the Parkway. The discovery that would launch a 17-year enigma occurred at a scenic pull-off near the iconic Lynn Cove viaduct overlook. A park ranger, conducting a routine patrol, noted the minivan parked neatly in a designated spot. There was nothing immediately amiss, save for its prolonged presence. Upon closer inspection, the vehicle was found to be locked, its windows intact, and its interior showing no signs of struggle or forced entry. However, the Whitfield family, Caleb, and his unnamed companions were nowhere to be found. Their personal belongings remained inside the minivan, suggesting a departure that was neither planned nor voluntary. The immediate aftermath was characterized by profound confusion. How could an entire family, complete with their vehicle, simply vanish from a popular, yet isolated stretch of road? The vast, untamed expanse of the Blue Ridge Parkway offered countless possibilities for an accident or a wrong turn, but the locked minivan presented a scenario far more perplexing. There was no note, no witness, and no discernible trace of Caleb Whitfield or his family. Their disappearance was absolute, leaving behind only an empty vehicle and an enduring, chilling question. The discovery of the abandoned Whitfield minivan triggered an immediate and extensive response. Park rangers, accustomed to search and rescue operations for lost hikers, quickly escalated their efforts. Local law enforcement agencies were notified, and within hours, the serene Lynn Cove viaduct overlook transformed into an active command post. Teams of officers, volunteers, and K-9 units fanned out across the surrounding terrain. The initial search perimeter focused on the immediate vicinity, covering trails, overlooks, and the dense woodlands directly accessible from the pull-off. Every crevice, every thicket, and every drop-off was meticulously examined in the desperate hope of finding a sign, a clue, or the family themselves. As the initial hours stretched into days, a myriad of theories began to emerge, each as unsettling as the last. Investigators considered the possibility of a voluntary departure, yet the locked vehicle, containing personal effects, contradicted such a notion. There was no indication the Whitfields had planned to leave their minivan behind. An accident, perhaps a fall from an unseen ledge, was also heavily weighed. The rugged topography of the Blue Ridge Parkway presented numerous hazards, but extensive aerial and ground searches yielded no evidence of a slip or a struggle. The most chilling possibility, that of a targeted abduct, also gained traction. However, without any signs of forced entry to the vehicle or a struggle at the scene, this theory remained purely speculative, devoid of tangible evidence. The search efforts, though robust, quickly encountered the formidable challenges inherent in the Blue Ridge Parkway's environment. The vastness of the National Parkway, stretching for hundreds of miles, made a comprehensive search impossible. The specific area around the Lynn Cove Viaduct Overlook, while picturesque, was characterized by steep slopes, dense rhododendron thickets, and deep ravines, all of which could easily conceal a person or even a small group. The shifting autumn leaves, beautiful as they were, complicated ground visibility, potentially obscuring crucial evidence. Furthermore, the passage of time, even a few hours, could allow for significant ground to be covered by foot or by vehicle, further expanding an already unmanageable search area. Days bled into weeks. The initial surge of urgency began to wane, replaced by a growing sense of frustration and despair. Despite deploying every available resource, helicopters, specialized search teams, and extensive forensic examination of the minivan, no compelling leads emerged. The Whitfield family seemed to have vanished into thin air, leaving behind no footprints, no discarded items, and no witnesses. The Blue Ridge Parkway, which had promised a scenic escape, had instead swallowed an entire family whole, leaving investigators with an empty vehicle and a profound, unanswered question that would haunt them for years to come. The frantic energy that had gripped the Lynn Cove Viaduct Overlook in the autumn of 2003 gradually dissipated. Weeks turned into months, and the intense, round-the-clock search for Caleb Whitfield and his family wound down. The vast, indifferent wilderness of the Blue Ridge Parkway offered no further clues, no definitive answers. The yellow crime scene tape was eventually removed, the command post dismantled, and the specialized search teams redeployed. What remained was the locked minivan, eventually towed away as evidence, and the profound, gnawing absence of an entire family. The Whitfield case, once a priority, slowly receded from the forefront of active investigations, sliding into the grim category of cold cases. For years, the question lingered like a persistent fog over the Appalachian peaks. How could an entire family and their vehicle simply vanish without a trace from a well-traveled national parkway? The initial theories, voluntary disappearance, accident, abduction, had all been exhausted without any supporting evidence. There were no ransom demands, no bodies discovered, no sightings reported. It defied logic, leaving a void that defied explanation. The absence of any compelling narrative made it all the more unsettling. The Blue Ridge Parkway, a symbol of natural beauty, now held a darker, more enigmatic secret within its ancient forests. The reality of a cold case is a stark one. With each passing year, memories fade, potential witnesses move on, and the chances of uncovering new evidence diminish significantly. The initial surge of public interest waned, replaced by a quiet, persistent ache for those who knew the Whitfields. For the park rangers and law enforcement officers who had poured countless hours into the initial search, the case became a professional ghost, a haunting reminder of an unsolved puzzle. The passage of time brought no fresh leads, no unexpected revelations. The file grew thicker with reports and analyses, yet the central mystery remained untouched. 17 years passed since Caleb Whitfield and his family were last seen. From 2003 to 2020, the Blue Ridge Parkway continued to welcome millions, unaware of the deep, unsolved tragedy it harbored. The Lynn Cove Viaduct Overlook remained a popular stop, its stunning views masking the profound mystery that had unfolded there. For nearly 2 decades, the Whitfield case stood as a testament to the enduring power of the unknown, a stark reminder that sometimes, even in the age of advanced forensics, an entire family could simply disappear, leaving behind nothing but questions and a sun-drenched, empty parking spot. The hope for a breakthrough after so long had become a faint, distant whisper, almost entirely extinguished by the relentless march of time. 17 years had passed since the Whitfield family vanished, and the Lynn Cove Viaduct Overlook continued its daily rhythm, oblivious to the enduring mystery it held. Fall foliage still drew crowds, summer tourists paused for photographs, and winter snows blanketed the majestic peaks. On a crisp autumn afternoon in 2020, almost 2 decades after the minivan was found, a young couple, hiking with their toddler, paused at the familiar stone guard wall. Their child, toddling along the edge of the scenic vista, dropped a small toy. As the father reached down to retrieve it, his gaze fell upon something else, partially obscured and wedged tightly in a narrow gap behind the rough-hewn stone. It was a crib rattle, small and faded, its once vibrant colors bleached almost entirely white by years of sun, wind, and rain. The plastic, though brittle, still retained its shape, a simple, spherical design with small, enclosed beads that no longer rattled with their original energy. Its discovery was entirely accidental, a happenstance of curiosity and proximity, yet its implications were profound. For 17 years, investigators had searched for any tangible link to the vanished family at this precise location, and now, a small, unassuming object had surfaced. The rattle was carefully extricated and promptly reported to park authorities. Its appearance at the Lynn Cove Viaduct Overlook, the very spot where the Whitfield minivan had been abandoned in 2003, was immediately recognized as an item of immense significance. This was not a random piece of litter. It was an object unmistakably belonging to an infant or a very young child. The Whitfield family included young children, though their specific number and ages were never publicly detailed. The presence of such a personal item, clearly belonging to one of the vanished family members, unequivocally linked a child, and by extension, the entire Whitfield family, directly to the point of their disappearance. It suggested that at least one of the children had been at the guard wall, perhaps playing, moments before the family vanished. For investigators, both those who had worked the original case and new personnel inheriting the cold file, the crib rattle was nothing short of a jolt. The long-held belief that the family had simply vanished without a trace was shattered. Here, finally, was a tangible, heartbreaking clue, a silent witness to their last known moments. The discovery reignited a powerful, if fragile, hope. After nearly 2 decades of dormancy, the Whitfield case was suddenly alive again, imbued with a renewed sense of urgency and the promise that answers, however tragic, might finally be within reach. The small, sun-bleached rattle, a relic of childhood, had pulled a forgotten mystery back from the brink of oblivion. The sun-bleached crib rattle, a fragile echo of a child's presence, instantly transformed the stagnant Whitfield case. After 17 years of silence, investigators returned to the Lynn Cove Viaduct Overlook, not with the desperation of a fresh disappearance, but with the calculated precision born of a new, tangible clue. The landscape remained unchanged, yet their perception of it was fundamentally altered. Where once they had searched for anything, they now searched for everything connected to this small, plastic artifact. The advancements in forensic science since 2003 meant that the scene could be re-evaluated with unprecedented scrutiny, employing technologies and methodologies unavailable to the original team. Parkway Ranger Dana Yates, who had patrolled these very roads for over 2 decades, understood the deceptive nature of the Blue Ridge. She reflected on the park's ability to conceal, its dense undergrowth and steep inclines acting as natural barriers to discovery. "This parkway," she once observed, "is beautiful, but it's also a master of keeping secrets. Things just disappear here, swallowed by the forest or washed away by the creeks. You can walk right past something significant 100 times and never know it." Her experience lent a sobering perspective to the renewed investigation, highlighting the immense challenges that still lay ahead, even with a breakthrough clue. Retired Trooper Rex Mallard, who had been among the first responders in 2003, felt a complex mix of renewed hope and lingering frustration. He recalled the exhaustive but ultimately fruitless initial search, the overwhelming feeling of hitting a wall, and the slow, agonizing process of the case going cold. "We had nothing," Mallard recounted, "just an empty van and endless fours. We combed those woods until we were blind, but there was simply no trace. To think a piece of evidence, something so crucial, was there all along, hidden in plain sight for 17 years, it's both a revelation and a bitter pill." His perspective underscored the limitations of the original investigation and the sheer scale of the environment working against them. The decision was made to apply every available modern scientific method to the crib rattle. It was no longer just a toy. It was a potential time capsule, holding microscopic data that could unravel the mystery. Forensic specialists approached the object with meticulous care, understanding that every speck of dust, every fiber, every trace element embedded within its aged plastic could provide a fragment of the past. The rattle became the primary focus, subjected to a battery of tests designed to extract any and all environmental and biological information it might contain. A silent witness finally ready to speak after nearly 2 decades. The meticulous forensic examination of the crib rattle soon yielded its first, pivotal secret. Forensic botanist Professor Imani Kiloha, a specialist in palynology, the study of pollen and spores, was tasked with analyzing the microscopic contents trapped within the aged plastic. Pollen, durable and unique to specific plant species and regions, acts as a biological fingerprint, preserving environmental data for decades. Professor Kiloha meticulously extracted and analyzed the minute particles, searching for any anomalies that might offer a geographical clue. Inside the rattle, among specks of common dust, Professor Kiloha identified a distinct and singular pollen signature, that of a high-elevation laurel bloom. This was a critical finding. This particular species of laurel thrives only in specific, elevated microclimates, often found along singular spur trails branching off the main parkway, rather than in the general forest. The presence of this specific pollen within the crib toy meant that, at some point, the rattle, and presumably the child who owned it, had been in direct proximity to such a laurel patch. This discovery dramatically narrowed the potential search area, shifting focus from miles of undifferentiated wilderness to a handful of specific, high-elevation spur trails near the Lynn Cove Viaduct Overlook. With the botanical evidence providing an unprecedented geographical constraint, investigators turned to advanced remote sensing technology. LiDAR. LiDAR, or light detection and ranging, uses pulsed laser light to map terrain, even penetrating dense tree canopies to reveal the ground beneath. This technology could effectively strip away years of accumulated foliage, exposing the true contours of the land and any hidden features that ground searches or conventional aerial photography might have missed. Applied to the newly identified spur trail and its surrounding slopes, the LiDAR scans produced startling results. The high-resolution imagery exposed a hidden drainage, previously obscured by years of foliage and geological shifts. Within this drainage, the scans clearly indicated the presence of a washed-out culvert, and more significantly, a substantial anomaly consistent with the dimensions of a vehicle. This was the breakthrough. 17 years after the Whitfield family vanished, a tiny crib rattle, combined with the precise science of forensic botany and the penetrating vision of LiDAR, had finally pinpointed a plausible location where their minivan, and perhaps the family themselves, had been hidden from sight for nearly 2 decades. The revelation from the LiDAR scans, confirming a vehicle-sized anomaly within the hidden drainage, immediately galvanized a new, highly focused search operation. Gone were the broad, unfocused sweeps of 2003. This time, teams moved with pinpoint precision, guided by GPS coordinates derived from the botanical and LiDAR data. Climbing specialists, equipped with ropes and specialized gear, descended into the steep, previously impenetrable ravine. The terrain was treacherous, choked with decades of fallen trees, eroded soil, and dense undergrowth, but the target was now clear. Within hours of the descent, the glint of oxidized metal became visible through the thicket. There, partially buried beneath a landslide of earth and debris, lay the rusted, mangled remnants of the Whitfield family minivan. The vehicle had been swept into the drainage during a catastrophic culve. RT washout, likely in the days or weeks following their disappearance in 2003. The immense force of water and subsequent earth movement had dislodged it from the Parkway, dragging it into the ravine and concealing it almost perfectly from observation for 17 years. Within the wreckage, the remains of Caleb Whitfield and his family were tragically discovered, bringing a definitive, albeit heartbreaking, end to the mystery. The crib rattle, dislodged perhaps during the initial event, had somehow made its way back up the slope to rest behind the guard wall, a silent, enduring beacon. Parkway Ranger Dana Yates, standing at the recovered site, reflected on the tragic outcome. "This place," she stated, her voice quiet, "it gives and it takes. We always knew the Parkway could hide things, but to have an entire family swallowed whole like this, and then to find them 17 years later because of a child's toy. It's a testament to both its wildness and the incredible persistence of those who refuse to give up." Retired Trooper Rex Mallard, his face etched with the weight of the years, nodded slowly. "We searched and searched, but we were looking in the wrong places. It took new science and that one tiny clue to show us where to look. It's not the outcome anyone wanted, but at least there's an answer." Professor Imani Kiloha, the botanist, emphasized the power of forensic botany. Every environment leaves its signature. The pollen in that rattle was the voice of the Blue Ridge itself, finally speaking. The discovery of the Whitfield family minivan and their remains brought a profound sense of closure. It underscored the transformative potential of advanced forensic science and the enduring commitment of investigators. The tragic fate of Caleb Whitfield and his family became a stark reminder of the hidden dangers that can lurk even in places of serene beauty, and a powerful testament to how a single, seemingly insignificant clue, combined with relentless dedication and scientific innovation, can ultimately provide answers, even decades after hope had faded on the Blue Ridge Parkway.